This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Today is Thursday, February 15th, 2024, and we are now officially 70 days away from the NFL Draft in Detroit, Michigan. Welcome into the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, a taste you can depend on. With Brian Broaddus, Aisha Morrison, Nick Harris, Zach Wolchuk back with us today. I'm Kyle Yeomans. What's going on, Zach? How's it going?
Good, man. I've been itching to get back here. I told Bobby, hey, man, you can sit out of this one. I had something I couldn't make Tuesday. Bobby and I are alternating. I said, Bobby, I'm jumping in on Thursday, okay? You can go ahead and take a back seat.
And then you guys fought for it, fist fight all the way through, and you won. So congratulations.
I did.
We'll have to check up on Bobby later and make sure he's doing okay. Brian, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I wasn't feeling well yesterday. I think Vegas got to me a little bit. I don't think it was the alcohol or anything like that we were dealing with. I just think there was a lot going on in that radio row.
Yeah.
So couldn't hear, couldn't talk, which is very bad for me to do. Feel a lot better today. Happy to be on the draft show and are ready to roll.
Oh, yeah. We've got some fun scenarios to talk about, but we're going to scrap all that, and we're only going to talk about how college football video games are back for the first time in 11 years.
Man, you beat me to it.
Yeah, we're just going to not talk about anything else today.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's in the game.
Yeah, you beat me to it.
That's going to be a lot of fun. No, on all serious notes, Brian put together a list of would you rathers. And we're going to go through that. And there's a lot to get to. I want to go straight into it. I don't want to waste any time here. I want to say would you rather on a couple of these prospects. Now, keep in mind this is not Cowboys related specifically, right, Brian? This is prospect only.
Yeah, on your board, as you look at these players, and what I did was Dane Brugler's top 100 came out yesterday, and what I want to do is I wanted to kind of he had a couple of guys that were pretty close position-wise, and so I thought that would be a good opportunity for us to say, would you rather have this guy or this guy on your board? Dane does a hell of a job with his board. But all scouts are different the way they see these players. So that's why I created this list.
It's a really good list. Some of them are really tough to really decipher between. By the way, you can check out Dane's Top 100 on The Athletic right now. Just go on there. If you've got the subscription, search Top 100. You can even follow along as we do this. But let's start things off at the wide receiver position. He has two wide receivers in the top three overall prospects. At number 2, he has Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver out of Ohio State, 6'4", 205-pound junior. Of course, the pedigree with Marvin Harrison, that's certainly there, and he had a phenomenal season with the Buckeyes. But then right behind him, out of Brian Broaddus' fighting LSU Tigers, Malik Neighbors is there, 6 foot, 200-pound wide receiver and a junior as well. Aisha, I'll start with you. Out of these two prospects, which ones do you feel like you would go with? Or which one do you feel like you would go with?
Well, when comparing the two players, I feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. is a little bit more of a route technician. I mean, it's so slight. It's just a very small amount. But I also too, in comparison, the yak ability between the two, I think if you're looking for, I think Malik Neighbors has more of a yak. The yak ability is there a little bit more with him. I just think that they have similarity with the tracking and the strong hands, the concentration, the body control, similarities there. But I do think that the difference to me between the two was, I look at Marvin Harrison, I see how he runs his routes and everything, and I think that he's a little bit more smooth, and Malik Neighbors just has a little bit more edge to him, to me, in how he plays from a physical standpoint. And so, I mean, who would I rather? And it's not for the Cowboys.
Just in general.
Just stack them on your board.
I'm not about to piss nobody up.
That's what this show's about.
Well,
it is.
I just think it depends on what you like in a player. So for me, Malik Neighbors stood out more to me.
You're going Neighbors.
I like it.
He just
Go Tigers.
when I look at a player, when I look at a wide receiver, I like his, and it's not to say that Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't have an edge to him, because he does, but there's just this little bit of like attitude different. It's very slight that I like Malik Neighbors just a tad bit more. That's just me, and that is what it is.
You spoke to that physicality with Neighbors, and I think that's probably the biggest concern I could find with Marvin Harrison Jr. whenever I was looking at tape on him and trying to find anything that I didn't like, is the fact that he's typically brought down whenever he gets breathed on first contact. You're not going to see him slip many tackles, but you got to get to him first. I think that's the biggest thing with him. He creates separation so easily at the top of his routes. His releases are some of the best that I've seen at the college level coming out. It's tough to find many bad things about him. Whenever I look at Malik Neighbors, I probably find a little bit more concern as far as being able to run away from guys compared to Marvin Harrison. He can. But compared to Marvin Harrison, I think there's a little bit more of that big playability from him. I think if you're looking for a receiver, which if you're drafting in the top of the first round for a receiver, you're looking for one that can change your offense and be able to add that highlight element to what you want to bring to an NFL offense. I think you get Marvin Harrison.
Well, Malik Neighbors, I think I don't know if I think that Malik Neighbors, when he turns upfield and he's the way he's looking upfield to make plays, he's a little bit more angry of a runner to me. And
I agree.
And so even so, where you would say, okay, well, I don't know if I think his balance is just a tad bit better. And there's
Really?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
don't
I agree with that. Like,
I don't think she's wrong.
Marvin Harrison coming down
think
on
she's
first
wrong at all.
contact, like that's one of the biggest concerns I can find.
Just in terms of after catch.
After catch
All right,
balance.
okay.
Yeah,
Because
which is what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking
To me,
about
what sets him apart is I think Marvin Harrison Jr. along the sideline when it comes to body
the
control.
foot awareness
Absolutely.
is insane.
Being able to, high point the football, make some really difficult grabs.
Oh,
The Neighbors will body catch a little bit.
Sure.
I'm with you guys in terms of after the catch. Now, give me Roma Dunze over both of these guys.
Oh, I was waiting for somebody to bring that up.
But no, I've got a Dunze at 3.
just wants to
I
start
do love
stuff.
Roma
I was gonna say.
Dunze, and I just wanted
Do
to
you
give
like him
some
better
love.
than Neighbors?
That's really. I think they're closer to me than Harrison and Neighbors are.
Wow.
I got Harrison at number 1.
Now, do you still think both of these guys, Harrison Jr. and Neighbors, are top 5 prospects
Yes.
in the draft?
Yeah, I think all 3 of those guys are probably top 10 prospects for me.
Do you agree, Brian?
Yeah, there's no question about that. The thing about it is it's because I sit on this panel here as an evaluator, and I know I'm an LSU guy. This is one of the best receivers ever to play at LSU.
Go Tigers.
And they've had
Thanks, Ed.
thanks, yeah.
Please.
And they've had some great ones when you start to talk about Chase and Jefferson and all that. This kid right here is
Odell was all right.
yeah.
Jarvis
He was
Landry was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, but they've had some great ones, and this kid is right there with these guys. And when the way you watch him play, he loves to play the game. But Marvin Harrison, you could watch him and say the same thing. Marvin Harrison loves to play the game. You could see that. Both are those game breaker kind of guys. I do think the difference between the two is run after catch. I think there's some explosiveness to Neighbors' game. I think there's some finish to his game. I've seen him catch the ball, turn it upfield, run through people, and just bounce off guys, get extra yards and stuff like that. So he's the master of the stutter goes. He can set you up. He can, he runs across the middle. He can go deep. He's got so much to his game. People are going to say, Brosh, you're an LSU homer. Okay, fine. I'm an LSU homer. Neighbors, I think, is a better player than Marvin Harrison.
Could some of the physicality questions for Marvin Harrison Jr. stem from he wasn't caught by anybody? I mean, he was so fast. He was so much a step ahead from defenders in the Big Ten and even some of the competition that Ohio State played outside of that. He never had to be physical when catching footballs on the film.
Yeah, where it
That's
jumped
fair.
out to me was when he was getting the ball in the short to intermediate range and having to kind of be able to find a hole and break through that. That was the only concern I could find with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
I love
His catch
literally
radius
everything
is
else about
really impressive.
I mean,
and
it's
to
so
Zach's
wild.
point,
The wingspan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's unbelievable the way that he can contort. I mean, it's Michael Gallup-esque when Gallup was in his prime. His ability to make tough catches with his wingspan, the catch radius. To your point, I think he's got the long speed. Neighbors runs more angry. I mean, and I think the body type
good. That's what you said,
is probably the difference, right? Because Marvin Harrison Jr. is a little bit long, slight build.
4 inches taller.
Neighbors is filled out.
Yeah.
So Neighbors, I think physically, you look at him, he's got the probably he's a stronger player than Marvin Harrison Jr. is. But I think it's just the quickness, the ability to create separation, the route running. I just think all those things are a tick better with Marvin Harrison Jr. But the yak, I hear the argument, and I agree with you when it comes to Neighbors.
I mean, his foot quickness helps him when he does get the ball. When you talk Marvin Harrison Jr., when he does catch the ball, it's not like he's not super shifty, but it's like it's shifty enough to where he can make someone miss. But I don't want to sit up here and act like the guy. I mean, if you look at him, he's blocking downfield too, guys. Like, he is willing to sacrifice his body in that way. And I think you bring up a really good point about the fact that, I mean, his releases are just so crazy that sometimes people are just not even around him.
Oh, he makes a ton of plays.
But I will say too, I mean, at the NFL level though, there's going to be some people that can rock with you.
Yeah.
Ball security. I mean, you watch Neighbors. I think that might be one thing you could give to him. Marvin Harrison Jr., when he runs the ball, he'll leave some openings for you to get it punched out a little bit from DBs. So Neighbors, I mean, if you look at the next level, I don't think either of them have a fumbling issue by any means. Don't get me wrong. But that was something that I did put in my notes. He will give you an opening for the ball to get punched out by alert defenders with Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think Nick makes a great point, though. The first tackler.
Mm-hmm.
You see that. You do see first tacklers sometimes getting Harrison down there. And I just think that, to me, give me the guy that defenders are trying to, are having problems with. We can't get this guy on the ground.
Do you think it's a longevity thing? I don't want to sound like I'm thinking too hard into it, but do you think it is because I do think there's a way to fall. There's a way to get tackled. And if you watch him, because you see that even in the NBA and stuff like that, where the guys take contact, they know how to take the contact and not injure themselves. When I look at him, there's a lot of time that his falls are calculated. Like,
it's taught. It's taught now.
His dad did the same thing.
It's taught. And so... And it's, I actually asked Brandon Cooks about this season, because if you notice that about him, he shields himself.
Yeah.
He'll do different things because he understands that his frame is, like you were talking about Marvin Harris's frame, his frame isn't the super strongest, so he does some things to protect himself. When I look at Marvin Harrison, sometimes I do think, not avoiding contact, I just think he understands how to take contact and so it doesn't look the same way as it does with Malik Neighbors, where he's just like, I don't really care. If you decide to contact me.
I feel like we could spend an entire draft show
I'm done.
on just the wide receivers. We really could.
So many.
There are so many fun ones. But let's go from
activities.
the guys catching the ball to the ones that are throwing the ball. And there's two of them on this list that Brian put up there. And, of course, LSU's own Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner.
This is an LSU-themed show today, folks. I hope you know that.
Go Tigers.
Yeah.
So he was number 8 on Dane's top 100. Jaden Daniels, of course, won the Heisman, had a phenomenal season, one of the college football's best seasons ever. Then you got Drake May, North Carolina, who's number 4 on Dane's list. So you got number 4 in May, number 8 in Jaden Daniels. Nick, I'll let you start on this one.
Yeah, I've actually gone back and forth between this the last couple of weeks, and I've been asking myself whether Drake May is closer to Caleb Williams or if Jaden Daniels is closer to Drake May. And I've been trying to have that conversation and trying to figure out kind of how that top 3 shape out in my mind, because I'm trying to look at it from a holistic approach and not just put Williams at 1. I think Williams is the 1. I think he's 1. 2, just the fact that I'm having that conversation with myself, I'm putting Drake May 2. I love what Drake May does from a pocket standpoint. His feel in the pocket, being able to get out at the right times. He feels things behind him. I love that part of his game. I think it's going to translate to the NFL a little bit better than what Daniels does. We've talked a little bit about Daniels and how kind of lean he is at this point in his career. I would love to see him add 15, 20 pounds before he takes on a starting role in the NFL. I think with going in the first round, both of these guys will, with 5 years of development, if we're looking 5 years into the future, I think Drake May will be a more developed prospect by that point, but I still think Jaden Daniels will be an NFL starter in 5 years.
Drake May, 6'4", 230, and then you've got Jaden Daniels, who's 6'3", 205. And of course, that's going to change whenever the combine comes around. We'll get more accurate numbers, and we'll kind of roll from there. But you could add some of that weight if you want to, Aisha.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, man. This is a challenge for me. You've got the prototypical size for the position in Drake May. I do think he's pro ready. I like the footwork. He'll stand in the pocket. He'll take a hit, deliver a throw when he's on. And that's the thing. When he's on, the dude throws a catchable ball. He's super accurate. He shows an understanding of coverage. I think he plays the position with a lot of awareness. He'll throw the football away, but there are times where he's like, man, I'm a gunslinger. I'm going to trust my arm here. And he'll make some throws over the middle of the field that you're thinking, what the hell are you doing right here?
Yeah.
Sometimes I want him to be a little bit more decisive. I think that Drake May fits more of your offensive coordinator and schemes in the NFL. I think Jaden Daniels is the better game-breaking NFL changer type of player. This dude is special. He is rare. He is a talent to where he can extend plays. He's an unbelievable runner, Lamar Jackson-esque, but he can also stand in the pocket. And what you love about him is when things are starting to break down around him, he's not always looking to bail out and run. Yeah. He is keeping his eyes downfield, and he's only taking off once the play is officially broken down. He can step up, he can slide, navigate in the pocket. Between the two, I think I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels. I think when you're taking guys that are up here at this level, I want the game breaker prospect. I think Drake May's a safer pick. I think if I'm an offensive staff, I'm going to have a plan for Jaden Daniels. He needs to make sure he's not taking as big of hits in the open field. This dude needs to get out of bounds sometimes or learn how to slide because he puts himself in harm's way. But he can flick it. He's got tremendous arm strength. I think I'm going to slightly go with Jaden Daniels here.
That's interesting. What do you think, Brian?
I'm going to go with my guy once again from LSU. And I've seen some games. I've seen some games where Drake May has his. You could see the arm talent. It appears good, and then others with the ball will die on him. I think that he could be a little hit and miss with his accuracy. He reminds me of Eli Manning, but with a little bit better athletic ability. And I mean the way he stands in the pocket, the way he looks tall there. I know Eli Manning is a potential Hall of Famer type of guy. But the way that Eli Manning throws the ball, and sometimes you don't always see the arm strength there, but he's got the touch. He can throw the ball underneath. He can throw the screens and the quick game stuff like that. This guy's had 3 games, though, this year where he threw 2 interceptions, North Carolina State, Minnesota, App State. His only victory, top 25 victory, was against Miami in a game where he threw 4 touchdowns. So I don't know about him as far as the when you start to talk about big lights, big stage kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at Daniels, the only reason LSU won 10 games this year was because of Daniels.
Yeah.
They were historically bad on defense. He did win the Heisman Trophy. He deserved the Heisman Trophy. He's got some incredible toughness the way he plays. He took vicious hits throughout the year. He bounces back. He battles through the game. He doesn't give up on plays. He can embarrass tacklers in the open field. There's something about this kid that his ability to move and to feel, pocket awareness, get out, run. Mm-hmm. You think you have an angle, you don't have an angle. And he throws the ball well enough. I mean, he's got some super strong hands. You'll see him flag the ball. He'll put the ball outside while he's running and stuff like that, but he doesn't turn it over. But his lack of bulk might turn some scouts off. That might be the problem right there.
Skinny. He is skinny.
He is very, at 205, he does. He looks very, now he's 6'3". It's not like what we saw last year with the kid at Carolina now, with Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. He is bigger than Bryce Young. But you start to talk about a narrow-framed guy. And, again, that might turn some guys off.
I think the gamer effect is definitely something you have to take into account here whenever you compare these two. And I think Jaden Daniels does have a little bit more of that element to him.
Yeah,
I think there's a big point to be made there. And I think that's why I go back and forth with the two so much.
Right.
We had this show 2 weeks ago. I'm giving you a different answer. And
Sure.
And I think after the combine, we could have a different answer.
Answer
no,
2 weeks from now.
These two guys are so close to each other. I think they'll go 2 and 3 if the 3 teams that are picking right now will stay at 1, 2, 3. In my mock draft, I have these guys going 1, 2, 3.
I think to me, though, what's interesting, and I know this was a who would you rather between those two, I think those are the top 3, but who's your 4th guy?
I was going to ask that question. The next next man up on Dane's list is J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan.
See, I got Penix.
I'm Penix all day.
And I don't get the J.J. McCarthy Bo Nix hype for me. I think McCarthy, you want to take him in the 2nd round, maybe like Sean Payton in the Broncos. He could be a good fit there. I think J.J. McCarthy, I know Cam Newton got into a lot of trouble with the game manager talk. Mm-hmm. That's what McCarthy is for me. I just don't see him making game-changing type of plays. I think he plays within the game, plays within the system. I mean, you're watching him. They're handing the ball off. Then you need him to make a play on third down, and he'll sail a pass. I don't get it with J.J. McCarthy. Bo Nix, I definitely don't get it. I think he's a third-round, fourth-round type of dude. Bo Nix is a one-read type of quarterback for me. I don't think either of them are first-round players. I think Penix is the next dude up.
I'm right there
Give
with
me that
you.
Bo Nix slander. Let's go.
Yeah,
You've always had something out for Bo Nix. Now, there is a place in the NFL for guys like that.
It is.
There are places. I mean, one of the guys
Maybe.
played in the Super Bowl this past year. That
Leave
was
him alone.
very much so like
You
that.
gonna start it?
I mean, come on
Don't
now.
start it.
Let's not pretend Brock Purdy is the top quarterback in the NFL.
I mean,
Come on, he's the best.
No, let's not call him. That's
He
why
just
he
beat
lost.
Patrick Mahomes. in the
All I
Super
got
Bowl.
No, he
to
did
say.
not. All right, let's go to offensive tackle. How about this? 16 and 17 on Dane's top 100 list. Offensive tackle out of Oregon State, Talisi Fuaga. 6'5", 332, redshirt junior, making his way out of Oregon State. Then you've got Amarius Mims, offensive tackle out of Georgia, 6'7", 330. Brian, who you got on this one?
I'll tell you what, I went with the Oregon State kid here
Yeah.
in this one, and I'll tell you why I did, because, man, the thing about him is it's amazing his athletic ability for his size. He's so impressive, the foot athlete. He puts himself in position to kick away from the line of scrimmage. Opponents have no shot to bull rush this guy. He's super tough. He sits down. He's nasty in the run game. He can easily get movement off the snap. He will drive his man out of the play. There's several times you're watching the film and he's just driving his guy, out of the way. I think there might be some thought about moving him even to guard because of the power and the ability to move. But I just love the way that this guy punishes defenders when helping teammates. The power, the finish. He makes me really at 6'6", 334. Those are all things to really, really like about his game.
Yeah, whenever I looked at Fuaga, I like that you mentioned the mobility, because I put that his ability starts with his legs, and it finishes with his violent hands. I saw that at Senior Bowl quite a bit. Before going into the Senior Bowl, I liked Fuaga, but I fell in love with him after that. And they threw a different kind of pass rushers at him. They threw the athletic ones like Laiatu Latu, and then they threw the physical ones like a Marshawn Nealon. And he was able to combo both of those type of pass rushers with his feet first and then finishing with his hands. I really love what he does, and his experience, I think, is what's going to make me give him the victory for me here in this Would You Rather. You talk about Amarius Mims, and I know we've talked about it with just the 8 starts, but
that's tough.
He's young, but he's not necessarily raw.
No,
he's
you're
not,
right. No,
he's not necessarily raw at all. I think he can go into an NFL franchise, be able to have a strong training camp, and have an opportunity to start depending on where he lands. But I think with a little bit more of that experience in preseason and getting him accustomed with an NFL offense early in the year with a team that might not be competing for a playoff spot, I think by year 2, year 3, we could be comparing these guys a lot more closer. I think long term, that's really tough to judge. But right now, as a draft prospect, I'll take the experience if 2 guys are kind of the same to me when it comes to on-field play.
Yeah, when you look at Fuaga, I don't think you can teach what he does. And just you talk about the attitude and the determination. He has a lot of tenacity in his game. And again, I think Mims has these things as well, but you look at Fuaga and the technical side of things is there. I just think you have a more rounded player to start, right, with Fuaga to start. And that would be my only thing, is the experience and things. But I just don't think what he does in the run game and just how the natural awareness and stuff from him it's just the guy just gets the position. It's so if I'm a coach or something like that, I kind of know exactly what I'm getting right away with this guy in comparison to Mims. Even though there's a lot of love for homie over here.
Yeah, for sure.
Both of those guys would be great, and I know we're not talking about Cowboys specifically, but I would take either one of those guys.
Hey, Mims can maybe make it to 24.
Mims could certainly make
I
it.
agree.
Mims is one of those guys where, like, 4 years from now, if he ends up being the best tackle in this class, I wouldn't be shocked because the talent's there. But I'm going to go with Fuaga as well. I think he might be the best run-blocking tackle of the bunch. I mean, I love what Alt can bring you, what Fashanu can bring you. But Fuaga is my favorite tackle in this draft. He's nasty. He's mean. I like the kick and the slide. He's got natural bend as well. Sometimes he can get caught, lunging a little bit, so players can get caught underneath him. But Fuaga's a beast.
You know, the thing about Mims, and I'm going to ask you guys this, do you feel like that you can use him movement-wise in the scheme? I mean, do you feel like he's a light-footed enough guy to be able to move around a little bit?
I thought he was effective as a puller.
Did you?
I thought he was effective as a puller.
We're
it's
talking
not
about
as
Fuaga?
no,
Mims.
Fuaga
Mims.
definitely can get to the second level.
It's not
Not as
as
pronounced?
smooth.
Yeah.
It's not as like you can kind of see him have to build up. Like the transition
Sure.
isn't as smooth. But I do think it's something. We talk about the experience. I do think that is something that could get better with the experience. But I do think as being asked to do it, he can do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Just
got
not
the
as
ability to
polished
do
yet.
it. I think you're right, and maybe that is an experience issue because sometimes you'll see him get out in space, and he's like, "I'm not sure who I need to block here."
Yeah.
and so he's a little late to picking up his guy.
Maybe that's
but
what I picked up there.
the talent. I think he's got the athletic. I mean,
I
his
do
arms
too.
are so long. The thing is, he's so big. When I'm watching him, I want him to just beat people up.
Yeah.
Like you have the physical ability and strength to do it. Fuaga's doing that. Fuaga's knocking people on the ground. I'm like, Mims, be a little bit more aggressive here at the point of attack.
Is that something you can teach, Brian, to an offensive tackle? I know some guys have it, like Fuaga has it.
Yeah.
If you don't think Mims has that, is that something he can pick up at the next level?
I think that you're going to have to try because I think Aisha's got him right. And Zach, I like what you're saying about the hesitation. I was just a little worried because I didn't see the smoothness, and I'm glad you explained it the way it is. I was thinking with the other guy, you know, he's just, you see him and he locates, he's on it, and he's working. Mims is a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of I'm not sure, a little bit of I'm trying to get gathered to be able to do it. So that's why I had a little bit of a question. But both these guys are just mammoth.
Yeah.
You know, when you start talking about in the 330 and 340 range, I just felt like the Oregon State guy was just a little bit better scheme fit for me trying to, if I'm going to play with some outside zone or I'm going to play where I have to get second level or cut off backsides, he just seemed like he had a little bit more to his game there.
It's natural for him. You can tell.
Yeah. I think with Mims, one thing I was looking for him to do is finish blocks.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes.
And Fuaga.
There's no
finisher.
doubt.
Like
he
he's
does.
trying to drive you completely out of the play. Now, the injury that Mims had, what was it? He had a surgery.
He had an
correct?
ankle. He hurt an ankle in the South Carolina game.
That's what a tightrope surgery is.
Yeah, George is famous for this.
Explain it, please.
George is famous for this tightrope, this high ankle sprain. It's called tightrope, and they connect the bones together. They bring the bones back together, and they did it with the tight end.
Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers did it, and he came back sooner. So George is kind of working on this, but they did this. But he got hurt in the South Carolina game and missed 6 games. Yeah. But they did the tightrope on him.
Okay, you brought up Brock Bowers. Can I throw out a would you rather that I think I might be on an island
Lord,
here?
Can we do it on the second
If
segment?
you want to, yeah.
Because we've got 2 more I want to get to.
myself in trouble with.
I've got 2 more that we want to get to, and then we can add yours
All
as
right.
the third, and we could talk about it. Before we go to break, Taliesin, right? Is that how you say his first
I've been
name?
seeing Talisi. That's what I've been seeing.
You've seen Talisi?
Like Khaleesi?
I'm looking at Oregon State's pronunciation guide, and it could be wrong.
Bang.
I've seen plenty of college pronunciation guides that are wrong. But Taliesin is what they've got. Taliesin.
T.
There you go. Fuaga. We've got you,
Yeah,
buddy.
just go T Fuaga.
Fuaga from Oregon State. All right, when we come back, we're going to continue with some would you rathers. We've got some edge rushers. Apparently, Zach wants to talk about some tight ends. We're going to talk about that when we come back right after this on more of the Draft Show.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
In a stressful world, Lincoln provides balance and calm amidst the chaos by creating sanctuaries that move you through the world with ease. Our vehicles make your time richer and more uplifting with human-centric design, intelligent technology, and powerful performance. As the official luxury vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys, driving a Lincoln is just another way to show your team pride. Experience our full lineup of luxury vehicles, including the Corsair, Aviator, Navigator, and Nautilus at Lincoln.com.
Hi, I'm Danny McCray, Dallas Cowboys alumni player here with Smoothie King. And Smoothie King wants to ask you, what's that sound? That's the sound of us magically transforming our smoothie bowls into 2 new decadent flavors. Dig into a cool acai or pitaya bowl, handcrafted with crunchy, purely Elizabeth granola, fresh strawberries, and finished with a velvety chocolate hazelnut drizzle. Perfect for breakfast, lunch, or anytime you want to munch. And that's the sound of you making them disappear. Smoothie bowls, now in 2 new decadent flavors. Only at Smoothie King, the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
The CONCACAF Nation League's finals are coming to AT&T Stadium. Don't miss your chance to watch North America's best soccer teams battle it out in the semifinals on March 21st. Then see who lifts the trophies in the championship match on March 24th. Tickets are available now at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing provider of AT&T Stadium.
I'll be there.
Soccer fill-in.
Did you see the clip of Pat McAfee? He was interviewing Thierry Henry.
No, I did not see
and
that.
he kept pronouncing it wrong.
The CONCACAF?
CONCACAF.
Yeah.
He kept saying it wrong, and Thierry Henry was looking at him like, "You're not serious, are you? You're not serious."
I can't even remember how he said it.
He was like,
bizarre.
"Our trophy means more than that trophy that you get." You know, he was just trying to. I think he was doing a complete bit.
Yeah.
But Henry's face was like, just kind of like, really?
You would think McAfee would be a soccer guy too.
Yeah.
Like typically punters and kickers were or are.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you look.
I
at
think
Brandon
he was doing a bit.
Yeah.
I really do
Yeah,
think he was doing a
Was
bit.
he saying like CONCACAF or
CONCACAF. Yeah, he was saying something that was completely wrong.
CONCACAF. That's what it was.
What's the right way to say it?
CONCACAF is the way you say
CONCACAF.
it.
Okay.
CONCACAF is the way that you are supposed to say
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
How's it
It's worth
spelled?
going if you have an opportunity to go. You ought to
Yeah,
go.
he just
It
totally
really-
butchered it.
It is absolutely.
Well, it's an acronym, and it's CONCACAF.
That's what he was saying.
Please.
CONCACAF.
Concave.
He goes, our CONCACAF trophy means more than that. You know, he was just going on and on. Thierry Henry was just kind of looking at him like,
CONCACAF? What the hell did you say?
Dude, you're an
End it with
idiot.
Roll
Come
Tide.
on.
he was right by us, by the way, at Radio Road doing an interview.
Pat,
No,
Thierry Henry.
oh my gosh, what a following he has!
Oh, it was
like
crazy.
People,
Had a
he's got
posse.
he's got a media crew that goes with him everywhere he goes.
that's pretty sweet.
That's just like you at Media Row, right?
Yeah.
far from it.
Brian's a who's who out there.
Zach's part of it.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. But we need to get back to this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I took us off the track.
I got to ask you about the vending machine food whenever we
Oh,
get back
dude,
to
it really
Pizza
was
was
not-
awful.
It was not good.
Yeah,
I would
that's
not recommend
disappointing.
it. I mean, it's a cool machine, but that's about it.
Pete's out of a machine.
All right, let's go with edge rushers first here. I want to talk about Jared Verse from Florida State versus Laiatu Latu from UCLA. Also touching tags on Dane Brugler's top 100 list on The Athletic. 21 and 22. Zach, where would you start on this one?
Better all-around player is Verse. I think he's the best all-around edge when it comes to, playing the run and rushing the passer. But I'm going to go with Latu because this is all about getting after the quarterback, and I have Latu as the best overall pass rusher in the draft. I think his bend is unique and it's exceptional. It reminds me of DeMarcus Ware-esque. His ability to just get low. He's tough. He's got a nice little cross chop. He'll rush wide. He can loop all the way around the quarterback, get upfield. I do think his gap discipline is an issue for me. I think Verse is better when it comes to that. I think he can play, stand up outside linebacker, can put his hand in the ground. He's got room to improve, but I think he's the best overall pass rusher. Him and Chop Robinson are the top 2 guys for me. But Verse, if you want a guy that's just all around, can set the edge, play the run, but also gives you some pass rush ability, Verse is the better all around guy, but I'm going to lean Latu.
That's funny you mentioned about Latu's gap discipline because the one negative that I did put with him is run game.
Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of concerns there, but I think that's going to come with more experience, A, and then 2, as he kind of fills out his lower half. Like I said, whenever I came out of Senior Bowl, whenever I look at his frame, when I look at his body, I still see room for him to grow in his lower half. You could still probably add 10, 15 pounds there. I think if you want a guy to be physical, you want a guy that's dual purpose as far as being able to rush the passer, but also being able to defend the run, you go with Jared Verse. But if you want a guy that's going to attack the quarterback and be athletic and violent and be able to get to him and bring him down, then you go get Latu. I think Latu is going to be the sack guy that's going to blow away, those stat categories whenever you look at rookie of the year and things about a year from now. But I think when you look at 3-4 years from now, the better developmental project, I think it's Jared Verse.
Nice.
Wow. I'll tell you what, because I had a hard time with these two. I do love me some Verse, and I'm worried about what I'm going to hear from the medical from Latu. Are people going to, he was at the University of Washington, and they asked him not to play football anymore.
Medically retired,
and then came back. And I wonder if that's going to ding him further down the road. I love what you guys are saying. The thing with Latu, I think that the pass rush ability is absolutely top shelf there. I think the more complete player is Verse.
I agree with that.
I just think the more complete player, and because he'll hold his ground, he reads the play, he reacts to the play, he's a good tackler in the open field, he can finish the play in a hurry, he wraps up in space and all that. The better pass rusher is the UCLA kid, but the guy that plays the most complete game is Verse, and I think I would put Verse above him in this regard.
Oh, I'm over reading my notes as you're going up.
You're saying that Brian doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
No. I mean,
as you're reading your notes,
when you look in comparison to size and build, they're similar. They're just a little off from each other as far as the size and their build. But I will say, when you talk about Jared Verse being the more, I don't know, just the more. I think he's just a little bit more under control than Latu is, and I feel you because I like a little bit of Latu's not being under control because he just flies to the ball. And also, too, shout out to FSU for what they're doing over there with that program. Because when you turn on that tape of that defense, holy muffins.
That was an elite defense.
They are flying to the
and
ball.
I'll never forget Verse 2 years ago. Brian can test this. He wrecked LSU in that opener. And then unfortunately got hurt. But he was, I thought he was coming out last year and would have been a top 15 pick.
Yeah, and when you mention Verse, he's not super bendy. It's just enough.
Yeah,
to me it's just enough. But he is flexible. He's not bendy, but he has some flexibility because you got to have some flexibility to be in the 2-point stance and then go to the 3-point stance and being able to move around like that. If I had to choose one of them, as far as if you want to go do some crazy things, then you would choose Latu, and that's fine. But if you're with DN and what it is in this league now, you're looking for somebody that can really contain that edge and be disciplined and play under control and stuff. And I just think that Verse is going to be the better player there. But I will say, do you think that people are going to, not just the injury with Latu guys, do you think people are going to care about the age? He's 24.
Yeah.
That's not old, but
when you look at the end of a first contract, that's coming up later than you would
be 29.
I know it's a different position, but Jackson Powers Johnson just turned 21 or 22 a couple weeks ago, so it's obviously completely different. So you have to factor in those things. I think especially whenever you're talking about a 5th, 6th-year player, and
I
that's
think you're right.
Part of Michael Penix as well.
Yeah.
Do you draft him in the first round to keep him 5 years and go ahead and lock him down, or are you okay with letting him push to the 2nd, 3rd, and getting him potentially on a 4-year deal? So it's things you think about.
I always think about when we were here in Dallas, we drafted Terrence Newman, and he was an older guy out of Kansas State. Everybody's like, you can't draft an older guy, and he played till he was like 40. Sometimes
some of these edges
sometimes you're like, the older guy. I think with quarterbacks now, I think people are digging the fact that these guys are maybe a little older, and maybe they've played a little bit more games. So I don't think that used to be where people would use that against them. I don't think they're doing that much anymore.
Yeah, I think the only position would be running back now. Where it's like, I'm not taking an old guy.
We've got tread on the tires.
Difference. Like Verse is 23.
Yeah. Did Terrence Newman have injury questions, though? Because both Penix and Latu have injury history, extensive ones at that.
No. Terrence was fine. Yeah. He never got
I think when you pair the age with the injury history.
That's
where it's
that's
going to
be the
knocking some of
question
these
for
guys.
Latu. That's going to be the question. If all of a sudden we're starting to hear whispers out of the combine that, wow, this injury is, he plays through it, or it's going to be something you're going to have to deal with down the road.
Yeah.
Well, here comes your faller.
He was an FBS best 25% pass rush win rate last year. That's insane. That's a quarter of the time he's in the backfield.
My bad.
What was that?
I wanted to ask you guys, when you watch Latu and what he does on the edge, can you see that he was a linebacker?
Oh, yeah.
You see the athleticism.
Yeah.
You see the athleticism, but also too, I see him reading a crap from the position.
Yes.
And he's so intriguing. I just want to ask you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to make sure I was seeing what I thought I was seeing is like he's reading consistently, and I think also too it helps him with angles as well when he's playing the run. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't tripping. Thanks.
And throwing him in as a decoy is kind of interesting from a pass rush perspective because you can see him about to attack the ball and he'll drop back in coverage.
He's fine.
And I talked about that play here on the show that I saw at Senior Bowl during the practices where he was lining up, coming off of the left edge, going up against the left tackle. And he was going up against Michael Penix, and he dropped back in coverage. And I think it confused Penix a little bit. And so Penix was like, okay, I'll roll out. Latu won't follow me if I roll out. And he followed him step for step. And then Penix had to throw it out of bounds in a practice setting.
His arms are so long.
It's It's interesting. He's got those coverage knacks, and I think it'll really help if you're looking for a defender that can kind of be able to bridge the defensive front with that second level.
Yeah.
Next scenario, Tyler Newman, safety from Minnesota against Jaden Hicks, safety from Washington State.
Are these two different guys?
Yeah, right?
I think so.
Very
41
different.
and 43 on Dane's list, by the way. The only guys splitting
I
them.
hated when you put this on there.
Well,
I had just texted Brian the other night, and I was like, dude, I think I was late to the party here when it comes to our Washington State cap, but holy hell is his tape fun. Like, him and Peyton Wilson might be the most fun I've had watching anybody during this entire draft process. This is tough because Newbit, I think, is super similar to Verse, right? I think he is great in coverage. I think he comes up. He's a sure tackler. Jaden Hicks is a game breaker. Jaden Hicks, to me, I put in my notes, like, he reminds me of a Harrison Smith, Troy Polamalu type of hybrid. I think he's a Tasmanian devil out there. He's better to me when he's around the line of scrimmage because he can just wreck plays. I think he lacks elite long speed, but he's super quick, super aware, explosive downhill, tackles anything that moves. But the thing with him is he's just always around the ball. Both of these guys are kind of like that, but Jaden Hicks, to me, just stands out. Like, the ball finds him. I think the instincts are a little bit better. Newman might be a better coverage guy, but you see Hicks as well playing the deep high safety. I think he had an interception on Michael Penix this year playing that. So he can cover. It's not like he can't. But I'm going to lean with Jaden Hicks here just because I think he's more of a playmaker than Newman.
Wow.
Does the fact that he's a late bloomer question you a little bit?
No.
That
I think his best football's ahead of him.
That's fun. That's the best type of prospect, right?
Get him.
Yeah,
Get him.
No.
Get
I'm
him.
saying Jaden he's a terror, dog.
He is.
He's a terror close to
Tasmanian
the line of
devil.
And just the way he diagnoses and comes downhill. Now, you said, are these guys two different guys? I think both of these guys have some versatility. I think both can play some free safety, both can play some strong safety. But I do think that Tyler Newman could be more effective in the nickel. Than what I think Jaden Hicks could be, but I do think that Jaden Hicks has the ability to do some things and dime.
I think Mike Zimmer would love Jaden Hicks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Immediately. You know what's so funny is, like, I think that Zimmer would like this guy, would like Jaden Hicks, and I think the gentleman that just left and went to Washington would really like
Yes,
Nathan,
I think you're spot
the
on.
way that you look at it. But in regard to the player, I mean, I think his backside discipline, Jaden Hicks, is really good. And the way he plays, it's the way he plays the run that stands out to me.
It is.
That stands
Because
out to
Newman's
me.
more the ball hawk.
Yeah, that's what stood out to me the most. And even when he's not as fluid in man coverage just yet, like, that's something you can tell he's still working. But he's explosive, but he's not quick breaking to the ball. Like, it's, if that doesn't make sense. Like, but also too, he's a thumper. Like, he's coming downhill. He's trying to make sure you know that he's there. But I do think he can shore up his tackling a little bit more. But Tyler Newman, watching him and getting an idea of what he can do, he's ideal and rangy in coverage. He has good zone awareness, and he's fluid. And he can cover a lot of ground fast.
Yeah.
The ball skills really stand out because he's baiting quarterbacks at times.
Sure.
He's I mean I know I call Sidney Brown Swiper. This might be Swiper for real because you don't. How many times are you watching him and you're like, how did they not? Because he's a big dude.
Yeah, he is.
But people don't be seeing him.
Yeah.
But I think that takes IQ. It takes IQ to be able to do some of the things he does. I really like me some Tyler Nubin, and I think Jaden Hicks, it could be fun. Definitely, if you need run support, if you need a guy to come down there and be a tone setter. But Nubin, I think, is the more complete player right now.
She said it all.
I'm not mean to steal it from all y'all.
No, man, you know what? I love both players. I really, really do. Tyler Nubin, to me, though, I think he's one of the best safeties in the country. I mean, the awareness, the instincts.
Yeah.
You know, what others are standing still on the defense, he's running.
Yeah.
You know, like people at the Golden Gophers are not. They're not. They're all standing there, and he's like, no, I'm running. I'm going. I'm going to go get the ball. He could punish ball carriers with his closing speed. He makes a ton of plays going downhill, attacking the line of scrimmage. He's not going to let the receiver make the play on him. He's going to get his eyes around. He's going to play the ball well in the trail position. I think he covers better. And that's kind of why I would give him the nod over the other guy. Because you watch, I ask you this because I think that Hicks is more of a strong safety. I know they're interchangeable nowadays, that's what Zimmer's going to look at. But I think Hicks is really more of a strong safety, whereas Nubin is more of a free.
Yeah.
And if I had to put one back deep that can cover, I think I would go with Nubin. But I'll tell you this. I did see Hicks run with guys in the slot that were faster than him.
He did.
And he carried them.
Yeah.
And he carried them.
I just think he impacts the game.
Yeah, that's a tough
You
call
gotta
right
know
there.
where he is. But yeah, it is. Both
I
of them
went
are very good.
I went Nubin on the slight. The coverage.
What you got?
I like Hicks's man coverage ability and being able to stick with guys at nickel or being able to even they worked him at some boundary at times as well this past season and they moved him around. But I think when you look at range and what you want from a safety to be able to come in as an early guy and play day one, I think you want to trust a guy like Tyler Nubin. I think he's my safety one. I stand on that. I think he's going to be playing in this league for a very long time. What I like to do with really fun safety prospects, and this is kind of a sicko thing that I like to do, I want to, whenever they're playing single high coverage, I'll put that dot in the middle of my screen and I'll get a expo marker and I want to draw a radius around where he can affect the play from that single high coverage. Nubin, I was covering my entire laptop screen. I wiped
Does your screen look okay?
Yeah, I wiped it down.
Okay.
But
Nubin,
it covered my entire screen. I mean, that guy, he steps up in run coverage. He can step back. I mean, his ability to affect a play spans anywhere from 20 to 25 yards in any given play. That's what I love about him. I think his instincts are phenomenal. You mentioned him always moving around and always being on top of the ball. That plays into it. I love Nubin, but I also love what Hicks does from a coverage standpoint. I just don't think he has the range that Nubin does, but frankly, I don't think anyone in this draft class does.
You
Other than
all
Javon
mentioned, okay, we can talk about Bullard later.
Fight.
You all mentioned instincts for both of these guys. Who has better instincts based off of what you've seen so far?
Nubin.
Yeah, Nubin.
in coverage?
In coverage.
Yeah.
Nubin, yeah.
Okay.
Specifically in zone.
Yeah, I say Nubin. I mean, but but he's played a lot of football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of football in Minnesota, and the production just stands out to you as well. It kind of lets you know, like he probably understands more. He's seen more. He's just been on the field a lot more.
Brian, incredible list, top to bottom.
It was cool.
That was a lot of fun,
That was fun.
to dive into. We've got a wild card coming up. We're going to talk about Brock Bowers and insert name here at the tight end position. Zach Wilczuk's got a wild card scenario as we wrap up a Would You Rather edition of the Draft Show right after this.
Hi, Drew Pearson, former Dallas Cowboy and now Pro Football Hall of Famer here. If you're struggling with your vision and tired of those contacts and glasses, don't throw a Hail Mary. Go where I went. Laser Care Eye Center, the official LASIK partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Drew, thank you so much for trusting us with your vision correction procedure. At Laser Care Eye Center, we offer 6 different vision correction procedures to help patients see.
Check them out at dfweyes.com. Tell him Drew sent you. Hood hood.
In a stressful world, Lincoln provides balance and calm amidst the chaos by creating sanctuaries that move you through the world with ease. Our vehicles make your time richer and more uplifting with human-centric design, intelligent technology, and powerful performance. As the official luxury vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys, driving a Lincoln is just another way to show your team pride. Experience our full lineup of luxury vehicles, including the Corsair, Aviator, Navigator, and Nautilus at Lincoln.com.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Hi, I'm Danny McCray, Dallas Cowboys alumni player here with Smoothie King. And Smoothie King wants to ask you, what's that sound? That's the sound of us magically transforming our smoothie bowls into 2 new decadent flavors. Dig into a cool acai or pitaya bowl, handcrafted with crunchy, purely Elizabeth granola, fresh strawberries, and finished with a velvety chocolate hazelnut drizzle. Perfect for breakfast, lunch, or anytime you want to munch. And that's the sound of you making them disappear. Smoothie bowls, now in 2 new decadent flavors. Only at Smoothie King, the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Back here on the Draft Show, got to remind you that Dallas Cowboys Game Time, powered by Lenovo, the official gaming platform and community of the Dallas Cowboys, is here. You can sign up now to compete in Fortnite for a chance to win a VIP experience at the 2024 Dallas Cowboys Draft Party. Qualifiers begin on February 24th and run through the 28th. Learn more and register at dallascowboys.com/gametime. All right. We've got one more scenario. We've been rolling through these would-you-rathers of the 2024 NFL Draft class, stacking our board with Zach Wolchuk, Nick Harris, Brian Broaddus, Aisha Morrison. I'm Kyle Yeomans with Chris Beam in the back. And, Zach, you've got one more scenario you want to throw at us.
Yeah, just for fun. Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia, who I think that is probably a top 10 type of pick that everybody loves. And I think since his freshman year, we've kind of looked at him as an elite tight end prospect.
He's number 5 on Dane's top 100, by the way.
Or Jatavian Sanders, the wide receiver out of Texas, local kid, went to Denton Ryan. We all got to cover him in high school. Actually played defensive end at Ryan. I wasn't sure if he'd stay there, but he wanted to play offense. I mean, the dude is just an absolute freak show. Now, Bowers is incredible. I mean, it's like any way to get the ball in his hands. First ever back-to-back John Mackey Award winner. Can line him up in the slot, out wide, in line. The question for me is, and he's a willing blocker, but you want a guy that can set the edge for you at tight end and that is not only a weapon in the passing game but also in the blocking game. And the best tight ends in today's NFL do this. You look at Kelsey, you look at Kittle, go down the list, they can block. And I think Jatavian Sanders is a better blocker
out of Texas
than Brock Bowers out of Georgia, and he can also make plays over the middle of the field. You know, there's no question Bowers, in terms of long speed, is a better playmaker with the ball in his hands. But Jatavian Sanders, I think, gives you everything. If you talk about the most complete tight end in the draft, and that's kind of some of the arguments we've been having with these, I would lean with JT Sanders over Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers in the passing game, far superior player. When you combine the receiving ability and the blocking ability, I really love what I see in Jatavian Sanders.
By the way, Brock Bowers number 5.
All right.
Thank you, Matthew. Jatavian Sanders is number 50 on Dane's list. So you and Dane would have a conversation about
there's no. I mean, Bowers is going to go ahead of Jatavian Sanders, but just projecting ahead 4 years, 5 years from now,
the player you like the most,
the better player. Because I mean, like Kyle Pitts, we all loved Kyle Pitts, and maybe this is a product of the offense he's playing in, but he has not lived up to that top 10 expectation.
No.
Jatavian Sanders is a guy that's going to go later that I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a better NFL tight end than Brock Bowers.
Is it a lot of it because of the size?
A lot of it's the blocking to me.
It's
the all-around player. It's being able to set the edge in the run game, but also
it's kind of got a little verse to it.
Yeah, I think he can run routes. He can feast over the middle of the field. He's not going to be a game breaker when it comes to elite speed. Brock Bowers is, and Brock Bowers is a fun chess piece. He's just an offensive weapon to me.
Yeah.
He's kind of a borderline wide receiver as a tight end, but it's not that he's not a willing blocker. The size, though, I think is a drastic difference between these two players.
Okay.
This one's tough for me because I'm biased with Jatavian Sanders. Just because I've known him for, going on 6 years now. But I like everything you said. And, man, Jatavian Sanders took some hits this year that I'd be worried Brock Bowers taking. And so I brought up those concerns on Tuesday whenever we talked about Brock Bowers on this show. And, is the size a concern? I think that's something you definitely look at Combine and kind of see how those two guys stack up next to each other. But, man, I love what Jatavian does from a physicality standpoint. And it shows in route running. It shows at the point of the catch. I think there's a lot of things to love about Jatavian, but it's so close for me. I would take Bowers just above, but I think both of these guys are first-round caliber players. I think there's definitely a chance for Jatavian Sanders to sneak into the first round.
Let me ask you guys this question then. After the catch, is it to you, how important is that when you got your guy run after catch, say your tight end?
I mean, it's important, certainly.
Okay.
You have to have it. You have to have the wiggle. And Bowers is better after the catch, but it's not like Sanders is bad.
Yeah,
I think it's the speed's the difference. But Sanders can break tackles. He can run through you. He's not quite as sudden and flexible as Bowers is, but I think he can bounce off defenders better than Bowers can.
So where would you rank them blocking? Would you put it over right after catch?
I think that's the biggest gap between them. I think the gap in blocking with pro Sanders to Bowers is the biggest gap in their games.
But what are you asking? You're asking which was more important?
Yeah, I was asking, which one is more important to you right now? The fact that you have him as a blocker or the fact you have one of the best run-after-catch guys in the country?
Yeah. Depends what team you're talking about.
I would say it's a scheme fit.
Well, and let me add another element into this. I mean, you talk about possession receivers at the tight end position and how important that is. Who's the better pass catcher in general? Who has the better hands, Sanders or Bowers?
I think they are right there together.
There's
the catches that Sanders has made?
Yeah, there's not
He's
much.
had some phenomenal grabs.
Yeah, to me, the biggest difference to me is Bowers run after catch.
Yes.
I think that's elite with him.
It is.
But the thing about it is, I'm trying to think, is it more important to me to have a more complete player or have a guy that I think is elite after catch?
Yeah. Like, that's why I leaned Law to in the verse conversation. It's more important to me to have the pass rusher that can impact the passing game than the all-around end. In this conversation, in today's NFL, I think Sanders is a three-down player. I think you might be subbing out Bowers in some run situations.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I guess it depends on what your room looks like, your tight end room looks like, because I think we are starting to see more teams have not a committee of tight ends, but one typically can do something better than the other or vice versa or whatever the case may be. Now, if you got two that can block well, I'm jealous, but and are still able to be receiving threats. But I do also it extends to your play calling, because when you can have guys act like they're blocking and then they can slip, but they're actual threats, like real threats. They're not just there for decoration. I do think it puts a lot of pressure on defenses to have to get after it and to deal with those guys that are able to block effectively and also to slip into the second level and do some things.
Where Bowers has a chance is he has to block on the move. He's not going to. Sanders can play in line. Bowers doesn't play in line. That's the problem right there. If you want an in line, and when I talk about in line next to the tackle, Sanders could do that. Bowers, to me, when you put him on the move, on the edge, when he can run with somebody and play in space that way, I think that's where he's better. He has to be on the move. I don't think he's going to sit there and hammer anybody playing in line.
I agree.
So do you forfeit the dynamic playmaking ability for the lack of blocking? That's
the
hard.
question you asked
I just wanted to throw it out there. Like, I think Bowers, everybody's going to have him number one. I mean, in my stack, I'm going to have Bowers and Sanders. I'm going to have Bowers ahead of him. But I do think Jatavian Sanders is a little bit closer. And I think overall, when you look at just the best, most complete tight end of the draft, you can make a case he's that.
Could you see a chance or a scenario where Bowers falls out of the top 10 and Sanders sneaks into the first round, if that's the case? Because if he's still stacked 1-2, but there are these questions on how he does perform as a blocker, how he does perform in line, will you maybe see a hesitation from teams to take him in the top 10? And then if Jatavian Sanders is that complete prospect that he is, maybe instead of being in the 50s where Dane has him right now, he sneaks up inside the top 32.
Bowers is just such an offensive weapon. I do think that a team's just going to fall in love with him and say, hell, let's do this. But, yeah, I don't see him falling out of the top 15.
Yeah.
I think you could get the three quarterbacks and a run on offensive tackle, so maybe he does slip out of the top 10. Mm-hmm. But I think Sanders could sneak himself into the back of the first round, absolutely.
My first line of my report was that Loved Kyle Pitts from the 2021 NFL draft, and I feel like this guy's a similar player, but slightly better.
Oh, you think he's better than Kyle Pitts?
I think he's better than Kyle Pitts.
Ooh,
How many times have you been able to look at a tight end prospect coming out into the draft and say that this guy is a threat pre-snap? Like you have to account for him the moment he steps between the lines.
I think Kyle Pitts was that guy. Yeah,
you can't. You probably can't say many on your two hands.
No,
and Brock Bowers is definitely one of those.
He is.
You see what Georgia did as far as getting him free releases and getting him going in the receiving game as his career went on. He's so dangerous as an offensive weapon. It's so tough to be.
He's
able
a
to
tight end that'll run jet sweeps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rare.
Yeah.
I think if I had to put it, even knowing what happened in the NFL career, I think I liked Kyle Pitts better than I like Brock Bowers, but both are elite prospects in their own right. And they certainly, of course, haven't seen that from Kyle Pitts in Georgia. We saw it during Brock Bowers' time at the University of Georgia, and we'll see how it turns into the NFL as well.
I hate that.
Kyle Pitts?
It's just one of the downsides of this in general is like I really have a huge gripe with player development and things like that when this type of stuff happens, but I'm just not gonna go there today.
You got a coach that lost his job because of it, so you're not the only one that feels that way.
There you go. Lil would you rather today, sending you into the long weekend with a little bit of draft talk. What?
Huh?
We're done.
I know that. I know that. I'm talking about Monday.
Yeah, Monday's off.
It's
like President's Day.
President's Day. I will not be here.
Yeah, I'm not going to be in the building, so.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see you on Tuesday, though. Back here for the draft show.
We're not missing one of these.
No, we are not. We will be back on Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Time to break it all down for you. For Zach Wolchuk, Nick Harris, Brian Broaddus, Aisha Morrison, and Chris Beam in the back, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Star in Frisco. We'll see you next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!